In case you weren't aware, beyond all of the characters, weapons, costumes, and more that Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition has to hide, the single most time-consuming one of these is a very odd addition: the ability to play as a giant Cucco. Apologies for the weird sick voice right now, but in this video I'm going to lay out how to unlock the giant Cucco, on top of giving you some useful tips and tricks for playing as Beast Ganon, which is surprisingly more complicated and tactical than you may think. First things first, to unlock the giant Cucco, you must complete the Ganon's Fury mode, which is first unlocked by completing the first story mode mission. This mode is under the challenge mode heading on the main menu. The main mission type of this mode is Survival Battle, where you must take on a series of enemies led by other giant bosses while not receiving healing until after you have finished off a wave. The giant Cucco is unlocked after beating Survival Battle 4, but in order to get to that, you're going to need to finish the other battles along the way, because Survival Battle 4 is by far the hardest challenge in the mode. In order to comfortably beat it while still playing normally, you may need a Beast Ganon in the level 100s, which could mean a ton of grinding the same missions over and over again, or if you use some of the tricks that I'm going to lay out here, you may be able to finish it much earlier than that. The gameplay footage that you see on screen is me finishing this battle at level 90, shortly after finishing Survival Battle 3, and I am going to upload the full video of me taking on Survival Battle 4 over on my gameplay channel, so be sure to check out the link in the description or in a pinned comment of this video and check it out. It may help you if you want to see more of how I managed to do it, but to be warned, this battle is extremely long, going over the 35-minute mark. So my first tip for beating Survival Battle 4 is to use the corners of the map to your advantage. Beast Ganon's biggest weakness is that he is truly a glass cannon. If you're not familiar with that saying, it means someone who is able to dish out a lot of damage, but breaks easily when taking any themselves. These battles have a damage taken maximum where you will lose your A rank, but in truth, the biggest danger to losing the map is actually dying yourself. Going out into the field is a great way to chase down specific targets, but it's also a great way to have another enemy walk over to you and casually destroy half of your health bar in one attack. It kind of reminds me of Minecraft in a way. Anyways, for me, the best strategy in these super hard challenges were to first find a corner, such as this one, which you will see me clear out and use a lot in this footage. Then, wait for your enemies to all come at you from one direction, and use your double heavy attack repeatedly to dish out damage to all of them at once. There is an added bonus to using this heavy attack, in that when finishing, it throws your enemies backwards, which gives you the opportunity for them to charge you and receive this damage all over again. Even though this method is slow, its ability to hit multiple bosses at once, as most of them are meandering towards you, actually makes it a much more time-effective way to deal with these missions. Instead of just punching them all to death one by one, you're going to be using the cleave damage of this attack to your advantage. The second tip that I have is to be very careful with the health drops that appear between waves. If you are only barely hurt, you really need to conserve these health pickups by not taking them. You should be very careful from then on to avoid them when you're moving from place to place. Beast Ganon's frame is very large and it can be easy to touch these, so if possible, take the long way around to avoid using these when you don't absolutely need them. My third tip is to be very wary of Argarok the giant dragon. He moves much faster than the other bosses and can be up in your face and hitting you suddenly if you aren't aware of him. While you can afford to let other bosses slowly make their way to you, if you see Argarok on the field, it may actually be worthwhile to leave your cubbyhole and do what you can to eliminate him quickly on the field. If you keep up a constant barrage of punches against an enemy, you can stun lock them and prevent them from hitting you back. So I recommend trying to punch him around away from the other bosses and enemies coming at you, and then when he is dead, swiftly retreat back to the strategy from tip number 1. My fourth and final bit of advice is to learn to use the boss pickup power-ups in order to create weak point gauges in the other bosses. I'm going to play the clip from my All About Beast Ganon guide in order to explain those now. Sometimes, when defeating certain bosses, they will drop a power-up for Beast Ganon, which will allow him to do a special attack by hitting the Use Item button, ZR. After you have collected more than one of these, you are able to switch between them freely for the rest of the battle by hitting the normal Swap Weapon button, and each boss has their own particular power-up which they're weak to. For the record, King Dodongo is weak to Goma's power, Goma is weak to Manhandla's power, Manhandla is weak to Argarak's power, and Argarak is weak to King Dodongo's power. Just like Pokemon. A single use of the right ability is all it takes to make their weak point gauge appear, so this is your chance to finally humiliate these bosses and abuse the hell out of this.
With the King Dodongo power-up, Beast Ganon will launch off a fireball in a long line ahead of him. With a Manhandla power-up, he will perform the signature Bullet Storm attack, doing a huge amount of damage in a short and wide area in front of him. With the Goma power-up, Beast Ganon will quickly throw out a powerful plasma ball just in front of him, which explodes with a good area of effect. With the Argorak Dragon power-up, Ganon will float slowly in the air before unleashing a short flamethrower burst in front of him.
Welcome back. Something extra that I want to add is that although some of these power-ups can make killing bosses faster, a few of them are extremely risky to use in combat, and are perhaps better off not used. I found Manhandla's power in particular to be extremely risky to use. Even though it lets you create a weak point against Goma, it leaves you super vulnerable before Ganon starts using the actual attack portion, and on top of this, it has an extremely short range. I usually wound up getting hit whenever I tried to use it, and thus I found it better to forego it altogether and just do the original corner strategy, or to just fight Goma on the field by punching him away from the other bosses. On the other hand, one power that is extremely useful is King Dodongo's, as its projectile can help you in your cubbyhole strategy to blow everyone back in a line and buy you more space. With these tips, I believe you will have an advantage when trying to unlock the Giant Cucco. In order to even get to Survival Battle 4, you will have to put in a surprisingly large amount of time in this mode anyway, but things really change up with the last two survival battles, which can be crazy tough and frustrating if you're not ready for them. These last two battles take a tremendous amount of time, upwards of 30 minutes each, which can be easily ended by dying due to a few careless mistakes. Fortunately, Beast Ganon is the only character that keeps his levels and experience gained after dying. If you're not sure why you aren't seeing these battles, keep in mind that in this mode you can only make more battles appear by getting a top rank on a previous battle. In the Japanese version, as you can see, it's an S rank, but on the English version, it's an A rank. I hope that you have a fun time blasting through Ganon's Fury mode to get your prize. Even if the prize itself will seem hardly worth it, and I promise you it probably will, you will still get lots of invaluable rupees and boss materials, which will help you when you go back to your main roster. Enjoy!